For more on this story, we can go across to France 24's Armen Georgian. Armen, what can we expect once Jean Castex speaks tonight?
Well, in a nutshell, we can expect more restrictions on freedom of movement, and those will be applied to two areas, so the Greater Paris region and the Hauts-de-France, which is in the north of the country. We're not sure exactly what these restrictions will be. Will it be a curfew during the week and then a lockdown at the weekend, or a lockdown for all the week and the weekend? Either way, we're expecting schools to remain open, so it would be a lockdown more similar to the second one rather than the very first national lockdown where schools were closed as well. So it would probably be very slightly lighter than the very first lockdown, but still one with serious consequences for these regions, particularly with the Greater Paris region, which is so populated.
And what would an impact of a lockdown in the Greater Paris region have, Armen?
Well, this region has an outsized influence. If we can show you a graphic to illustrate this, so it only represents 2% of the French territory, geographically speaking, but it has about 19% of the country's overall population. It accounts for 30% of the country's gross domestic product and 27% of the country's entire student population. So clearly a lockdown has consequences for each of those aspects. On the economic side, of course, this region has suffered a lot as a result of the first national lockdown, particularly everything to do with hospitality industries, airlines, and so forth. And we know from the local Chamber of Commerce that tens of thousands of private sector jobs were lost as a result of the measures taken when the crisis began around a year ago. And as for the student population, I think that's a very important point to mention as well, Delano, because there's this mental health crisis unfolding in the country's universities and institutions of higher education, with students living now for a year in cramped accommodation and not being able to go out and do very much. And obviously, with so much of the country's population concentrated in this Greater Paris region, another regional a lockdown would be a heavy blow to those students as well.
Indeed, many of them have to rely on food banks because they don't have those jobs to make ends meet, like waitressing, etc. Armen, thank you very much for that. Armen Georgian there.